Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So we're going to jump back on our new Hydmech DM1215 bandsaw. Last time you saw this, we got it set in place. We got it uncrated, set in place, and I was waiting on the electricians to get our circuit run over here. So we now have it under power, and we are ready to finish our setup and get this thing ready to go. We need to clean it. It's still got the rust inhibitors on there from the factory, and I need to fill it with some coolant and just do a once over and show you the features of the saw and get it ready to go. So we do need to make some leveling feet for it. So the base of the saw actually has the 4 bolts there, and I've got a piece of stock. We're going to use the saw and cut out 4 discs, go to the lathe, face them, put a little dimple in there with a drill, and actually have some steel pads that this saw can set on, and then we'll get it all leveled up and ready to go. I've already got a workpiece ready to bring over here and cut in the saw, and I want to get it ready to go so that whenever we start working, we can just come over here and get to it. All right. So like I said, it is now hooked up under power and ready to go. We have a receptacle there with a plug so that we can simply unplug it if we need to and move this out of the way. I do expect I'm going to have to move it at least once in the future. We're going to have a machine that's going to come in here, and I'm going to have to kind of move this back out of the way. And then once that's done, we can set it back in place, and we shouldn't have to move it again after that. We do have some more pieces over here that go to the saw. This is going to be part of like the roll-in table that's going to mount to the back side here. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to have to move the saw here pretty soon. I'm going to wait until we're done moving it and get it back in place, and then we will set up the roll-in table there, and I will show you that, guys, once we get to that there as well. All right, so we are ready to get started on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and I've got it in manual mode. So this is a really nice display up here. You have it a variable speed on your blade speed there, so that's super nice. You can tune that in to whatever speed you want. You have a manual and semi-automatic mode. Coolant on or auto, because we actually have a nozzle here that we can use to rinse the saw down with using the coolant whenever we want to. So that's a nice upgraded feature from the DM10. And we also have a laser light and a lamp that's mounted right here. So if we put it over on laser, I don't know if you can see that. I think you can. There's a laser light that's right there on top of that blade. It goes by, so you can use a laser to line up a, your workpiece to cut where you want to, or you can flip it over here to lamp, and you have a work light there, which makes it super nice there as well. All right, so I do have it in manual mode, and I'll show you. We'll just kind of bump it. With manual mode, you can manipulate this by hand. Now I've just got it running kind of slow, and we need to fill it with coolant, so I don't want to run it very much without the coolant in there. Once we get that in there, we can turn it on and do our test cuts. Manual mode is made so that you can adjust the spring tension back here, okay? And that's what this indicator is here. You run this spring on out, and that decreases the weight of the head, and you can just kind of feather this up and down. So maybe you've got some really thin parts that you want to cut. Just as an example, you can come over here in manual mode and just have this thing kind of move. You just use this handle and activate the blade with this trigger right here, and use it, saw it. Instead of it feeding down, you can just use it by hand and cut it as you want there. All right, this works just like the DM10, so it's a double miter. That's what the DM stands for. So you can swing this to the right or to the left using this guy right there. You pull that out, and that'll allow the head here to rotate, and you can cut it left or right. You can position this vise on either side that you want to. Very cool feature, and that is such a nice feature to have when you're wanting to cut angles on like structural steel when you're doing some fabricating. All right, so let's go ahead and get the thing cleaned up real well. We'll get this rust inhibitor off here, get it cleaned up and degreased, and then we're gonna fill the sump with coolant. This is another great feature of the saw too. So as you're washing it down, all of your chips are gonna fall down into this area. You kind of brush them down into this tank right here that you can just pull out and dump. And then your coolant actually drains. There's a screen there, okay, and then your coolant sump is down in there. So that is really nice that you can separate your chips from your coolant here. just a nice feature. You can pull that out and quickly and easily remove the chips as you're cleaning it up. And you can see our rust inhibitor that they put on there from the factory. I'm going to use some of this heavy duty degreaser to help break that up and get it off there. We'll show you how the vise works. You can loosen this clamp lock on the bottom and just slide it right over there like that. Position it where you want to. So on the vise here, like I said, you can loosen this and position it where you want to. Tighten it up there, lock on the bottom. You've also got a release on the lead screw with this lever here, so you can push it down and you can quickly move this in or out. Get it positioned where you want to and then tighten it up with the screw there. All right. So on the mitering, when you want to kick it over to an angle, you have a 0 location right here. You have your angle graduations on the bottom of this piece here. Pull this knob out and you can just pivot it around. And I believe it locks in at 30 and 45. Let's see. No, it doesn't lock in at 30 there, but it does lock in exactly 45 degrees right there. But you can put it on whatever angle you want. If you wanted to cut it at 30 degrees, you just line it up on your 0 and you just tighten this guy up. This is going to lock it in place. And you can very quickly and simply set that and cut it on whatever angle you need to. On our width, we're capable of cutting up to 15 inches wide. Open the vise up here, you'll see that this base that the vise is mounted on is machined as well. And it's actually machined to match the base of the head right there. So you have another rest right here for your material. So on both the DM1215 and my DM10 at the other shop, both saws came with a test piece that was cut. And I'm assuming that Hydmech does this at the factory for all of their saws, and then they supply it with it so you can see what kind of cut you're getting. So we'll measure, I believe that was the top and the bottom right there. That's around 625. And then the bottom, 631, 632. So it looks like it's going to be cutting nice and straight for us. That's going to be nice and suited there for just rough cut materials before you go to the machine with it. So I think we're about ready. I've got the thing cleaned up. So next step now is to get some flood coolant in here. So we're making up some soluble oil to pour in the saw. This is what I'm using right here, just soluble oil. This is made by Stay Lube. And I use this in the lathes as well. Any machine that requires flood coolant, this is what I use, just regular old soluble oil. I don't measure it anyway. I just pour and I fill the bottom of the bucket to where it's covered in the soluble oil, maybe about 1/4, 3/8 in depth there. And then I fill the rest of the bucket up with water. And that's how I've always done it. So the machine, I believe it holds 16 gallons. So we'll mix up 2 of these, pour it in there and see where our level's at. All right, I'm gonna try to do this without making a big mess, splashing it all over the place. Just pour it right up in here. I got a little bit down there. I'll go get some pig mat and get that cleaned up, but we'll go ahead and finish topping off our tank. I keep some of these used pig mats around the machines just because they're still good and you can use them real quickly when you get a little bit of oil or something, coolant splashed down onto it. So I'll just leave these right here while we're filling up the tank with our coolant. You can see how much of that soluble oil I put in there and then just fill the rest of it up with water. All right, here we go with 5 more gallons of soluble oil. I know it'll hold more than that. We could probably put another 5 gallons in there, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we're just going to stick with our 10 gallons the way it is and get to cutting. Let's see if we can get our pump to work now. Fill up our coolant lines. We're going to turn coolant to auto, and we're going to hit start. Let me bring this guy in some. There we go. There's that side. Put this side over here. Well, it is raining down. It's really coming down into that pan there. Let me, no, I see what they got. So there's a nozzle inside there underneath the base with a line lock, a nozzle, and it looks like it just floods underneath this the machine body, I guess, to wash all the chips down from here down into the sump there. But I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong and why our coolant nozzle here isn't working. So let me play around with that and see. I don't know, maybe if I just didn't have the switch all the way on, but it's working now when you turn the coolant to on. All right. Definitely getting coolant now. I want to try to show you that nozzle that's underneath the machine body here. We're going to turn our coolant on. You can see it coming down there. There you go. Just a complete waterfall of flood coolant there. That is cool. I've never seen that in a saw before. I like it. It looks like our saw is ready for some action, so let's go ahead and cut some material in it, see how it's going to do. I've got a piece of chrome bar stock right here. This is another old salvaged hydraulic cylinder. This is what we're going to use to make our 4 pads that go underneath the bolts there to level it out. So it's, I believe that was 2-inch in diameter right there. Let's go ahead and stick it in there and make some cuts. Slow the head feed down there to nothing so it doesn't drop on us. I think I'm just going to finish these out about a 1/2-inch thick each. All right, we're ready to go here. Slow it down to about 200, and here we go. Got a good looking cut there, so our blade's in great shape. So we're just going to repeat that. Looks like everything's going to be working as planned here. So I tell you what I'll do. I want to go ahead and turn the coolant on. Play with this real quick here. You can see this is sort of the benefit of having the nozzle here, so you can just kind of spray the chips right on down into the sump. That is super cool. All right, there we go. Now I'll rinse the machine off and get all the chips off the vise here. So all of our pads, we're just going to simply face it, chamfer the corners, and I'll use a drill to come in here and dimple the center so the bolt can center up down there on the pad. That's what our pad's going to look like there. I turned it around and faced the back side off. Just got a little dimple there, and I took one of the bolts out of the machine, and it's just going to sit down in there just like that, center up on that dimple that we drilled in there. So I'm going to do this 3 more times. We're going to start leveling our saw. I've got a 12-inch precision level right here. I've already cleaned the bed off so there's no chips, and we're just going to push it right up against the vise jaw there. Now I've got another is a 4-inch precision level. We're going to put it 90 degrees against that level there. That way we can read both directions. Now, this isn't like we're trying to level out a milling machine or a lathe, but we do want to get it level, and it's actually not that far off right there where it's at. Front to back's a little bit off. So we're going to get down there and start getting our leveling pads underneath the screws, and we'll adjust them until both of these are level. I'm not going to use the pallet jack to pick the whole thing up because it'll roll on me, and I want to keep the saw right where it's at. So we're just going to do the front with the pallet jack here. This will be real easy. I just need a little bit because they've got a nut welded to the bottom of these feet here. So I just need to pick it up a little bit. And I think on the back, I've got my little toe jack we'll use back there. All right, there's one of our leveling pads. Pretty simple. Going to do that right there, and we'll do that on the other side just the same, and then just set it down right there. All right, moving to the back side, here's our toe jack. I'm just going to, shouldn't need much. Just hook that corner right there. Let's make sure that we're closed up on our valve, which we're not. Good right there, and we'll go to the other side, do the same thing. Lower it down. All right, I think that's it right there. All right, we should be sitting on all 4 pads now. We just have to go and adjust all 4 of them and get our machine nice and level. All right, we just set that corner down on there. Let's look at our levels and see what we're looking like. Front to back this way is almost perfect right where it's at, but we're high over there on that side. So what I'll do is we'll go ahead and pick up this side right here. Wrong way. Shouldn't take much. I'm just going to give it a couple little turns at a time on our level there. It's about an 1/8 of a turn maybe. Yeah, it's coming in. It's coming in nice. We'll just do that again once or twice and it'll probably be real close. One line off. Front to back still looks pretty good. Let's do that one more time, about an 1/8 of a turn. That looks like it's about where we want it right there. That's looking pretty good. Real nice. Now I'm going to get in here without the camera and inspect it and try to tweak it just a little bit more, but this is going to be more than adequate for what we're doing there. I did give the front bolts a slight tweak on the front side there, but I feel good about where our level is on front to back and side to side. That's going to be perfect, and it's going to work great, just like it is right here. That is it, guys. Our Hydmech, it is ready to go. It is hooked up in service. We've got it nice and level. We've got it packed full of coolant. We've done some test cuts on it. It's doing great, and this is ready to go. It is ready to see some action. The only thing that we still have to do, like I said, we've got our in-feed table that's right over there. I still need to get that out of the boxes, get it assembled, put together. It'll actually be bolted on the saw, but as I said before, we're gonna wait until I've got to move the saw. I'll have to put it back in the position, and once I do, we will get that in-feed table out, get it together, get it bolted in, and get it level. I'm sure I'm gonna have some kind of follow-up video to share of that. It'll either be like, you know, some kind of video segment, maybe put into an SNS that we will follow up on whenever I get to that, and I'll show you how that works and, you know, and how it looks all put together. But man, I am just so excited to finally have the new Hydmech in operation, ready to go. This is such a sweet machine. It is a high quality saw that I'm sure is gonna give me many years of trouble-free service. I'm not saying that because someone told me to say that. I'm saying that because I believe that these saws are high quality. My DM10, I have had no problems with it over the past couple of years, and I know that this saw is going to be the same way. I really love the upgraded features of the DM1215 that I have on here, having that wash down nozzle and the speed control on this. Those are some really nice features to have on a bandsaw. You know, having the double mitering so we can cut angles. I'm just really happy, and I'm thankful and humbled to have this saw in my shop. And I'm ready to get some big work pieces over here and do some cutting with it. So that's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we will see you again very soon.